Hey there, everybody. It is Monday, which means it is another edition of Wick Live, where we are breaking down the Queen's Justice from last night. I am joined by Dan Selcke and our entertainment expert, Josh Hill.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us, Josh.
I'm back. I haven't done one of these since last season.
It's been a minute.
I wore my Winter's Coming shirt underneath this that we gave away last year, but
Did you?
wouldn't work with the mic, so
Gotcha.
you have to use your imagination.
We appreciate that you are showing Winter's Coming spirit underneath it all. Yeah, everybody, welcome to another Winter's Coming Live. I was up late this night watching this thing.
Dan, how late were you up last night?
I would rather not say. I was up late, people.
I got an email from you at 4 a.m.
Went on for a while after that. We're discussing the Queen's Justice, like Kayla said, but first, order of business. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Hello, Julie. Great to have Josh here, she says.
Hello. Glad to be here.
Okay, first up, we are giving away 3 copies of You Win or You Die, The Ancient World of Game of Thrones by, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced this, Ayelet Heimson-Lushkoff of the University of Texas at Austin. This book is about kind of tracing, the real life history that inspired Game of Thrones. As we know, like it's kind of based off the War of the Roses in general. Mm-hmm. You got the old Valyrian Empire, which is kind of based on the old Roman Empire. This book traces all that. So if you're a history buff and a Game of Thrones buff, it could be a fun get. Now the way we do this is we're going to ask you a trivia question, and the first 3 people to leave correct answers in the comments, we'll contact you through Facebook and then send you a copy of You Win or You Die, The Ancient World of Game of Thrones. Okay, and this is open to anyone in the world, by the way. Which,
we can go international with this.
Right?
Oh, that's exciting.
This time we got the go-ahead to go international.
That means you, Julie.
That does mean you, Julie.
Go, Julie, go, Julie.
Or anybody else. I don't even single out Julie. These people. Roz Reed loves history books, just even better with ties for Game of Thrones, right? Right. Why read about history normally when you can read about it in conjunction with Game of Thrones? Anyway, the trivia question is, to win a copy of this book, what are the house words for House Tarly? Sam's house. Every house has words. Winter is coming is House Stark.
Okay.
You got growing strong for the Tyrells. Hear me roar for the Lannisters. What are the house words of House Tarly, the house that Sam belongs to, or did before he left? Do either of you know?
I do know, but I can't say because
you cannot.
I definitely don't know.
Maybe I don't know. I'm just saying that I know.
But you guys leave it in the comments. First 3 correct answers. We'll get back to you after the show and a copy of the book.
Good luck, everybody.
All right, I see people putting it in there, and they already seem like they're on a roll. Hey, Kenny. He says, hey, Dan and Kayla. Hi, Kenny. How you doing?
Hey, Kenny.
All right. So let's start, guys. It was an eventful episode last night. Mm-hmm. Let's start with what the episode started with. A big event. Daenerys Targaryen, Jon Snow, face-to-face, meeting for the first time. This is, if the show has main characters, they're probably it. Mm-hmm. And they haven't met for 6 years, and now the show is finally getting us together. Kayla, what was your reaction to seeing these 2 titans come together?
It wasn't as chummy as I was hoping for.
No?
They both had their, game faces on, and as they should, but I wanted them hug it out or something. They're both good people, so they should be working together.
No, I know. I see where you're coming from because, yeah, they are both good people, and they're both the good guys and want them to work together. Why don't you think they were as chummy as you were hoping?
I think they have their walls up. They have their guard up, as they should. It would be scary going into a situation like that. Like, can I trust you? Can we be allies? Mm-hmm. But I thought it went well. It was cool to finally see them face to face, and I thought it went as well as it could have.
It definitely did. They were getting a little heated.
Yeah.
Danny's like, bend the knee. Jon said, no, your father was a wacko and a psychopath. I'm not going to do that. She kept insisting, and he's like, there are zombies coming. She's like, what?
They just need to trust each other more.
I kind of liked, Josh, that it wasn't an immediate connection.
Yeah.
I think because we've been watching them separately for 6 seasons, we know they'd work well together, but they don't know that.
Right.
They never met each other. Do you think they can rise above this, or do you think their differences, do they go too deep to work together?
I think that they can rise above it, and I think Tyrion might actually play a larger role in that than, I mean, he's already kind of doing that. We saw him.
Peacekeeper.
Yeah, he was a peacekeeper. There was that little moment on the beach where he's like, the dwarf of, King of the Order, and he's like, the bastard of Winterfell, and that was kind of cool. Little reunion that they had, and then he was even kind of going back and forth, trying to mediate that whole first meeting where he was like, look, Jon's not a bad guy, but he's also like, you're gonna kind of maybe have to bend the knee here. You meet her halfway, but
give me something.
Yeah, give him something. But yeah, I think Tyrion is going to play a big role in this, and it's going to be that kind of big three-headed monster that we've been looking forward to for a couple of seasons now.
Right. I mean, I thought the Tyrion was essential because they kind of left that meeting both mad at each other.
Right.
Because Jon wouldn't bend the knee, Dany wouldn't give him the help he wanted, and Tyrion had to kind of coax both of them into seeing the light. I mean, Jon was so angry he didn't even mention the reason he came, which was dragonglass.
Yeah.
And Tyrion had to kind of gently
what do you need? What can we do for you?
Come on, give me something I can use. And he called it his brooding, which was nice. And then he pointed out to Dany, just let him take it. Worst case scenario, he leaves with some useless rocks, and he likes you more because he helped you, and then you have an ally.
I did like the moment too when Dany got up off the throne and she was just coming at Jon Snow. Yeah, because that's just Dany to me. She's reasonable when she needs to be, but there are buttons that you push, and once you've pushed them, she just goes off. And I think that was a moment where Jon was pushing, and she was starting to turn into the Dragon Queen. That was you don't want to see that side of Dany, and that was kind of coming out. And I thought that
Here's
was
a question for you, Josh. Did that qualify as a hero shot, where she was slowly descending the stairs and talking about what a badass she was and how much she'd been through and how she will rule the Seven Kingdoms? It was one of Dany is big on the big speeches. She always has been.
As a big fan of the Dany hero shot myself, that was an example where it works. It's not this thing where she's just, we're panning around and she's watching everything burn. It had, it was a Dany hero shot where I was a little uncomfortable. I was like, oh, she's coming at me. I feel it. I feel the tension. So I think it worked in that regard.
I liked it too. I mean, again, it's fun to see this 5 foot whatever, little girl, kind of being genuinely intimidating.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Also, another thing, we have a comment from Christine Alsup, who was hoping the dragons would acknowledge Jon somehow. Some of the subtext of this is Daenerys has that line I am the last Targaryen. Unbeknownst to her, she's talking to another one in the room. Jon's a Targaryen.
Right. Are they going to find out they're related?
I think it'd be pretty funny if they went the entire series and it never came up again. I would bet they would find out.
It has to come up at some point, right?
It would definitely come up
I
eventually.
feel like Sam's going to get onto that once he goes through all those papers.
Or
that
Bran, who's
he's
back at
supposed to go
Winterfell now. He technically
that
should
too.
know. Well, let me ask you this, Kayla. Do you think that would, by the way, we're at Dragonstone, right around here, left map of Westeros. Would that affect their relationship if Daenerys knew that Jon was actually her nephew?
I think it would help a little bit in terms of them working together.
Sure.
Knowing that they're
it's
related.
Family.
Right.
I mean, the flip side of that is they're related, they're family, but that also would mean that Jon...
Power struggle?
Well, it could, because, Daenerys is all
More
about,
so than
I'm the
underneath.
rightful heir to the throne, but technically Jon might actually be
More
ahead of her in
qualified.
the line.
Right.
Not more qualified, but ahead of her in the line.
There was a little bit of table setting for that too when he was like, Davos he's the king of the north and she's like Lord of the North.
Yes.
King is forever, She was kind of putting that, and I think maybe that's setting something up like that as well, where we're going to have this confrontation. But that was another cool Dany moment.
Right, because Dany is big on titles. They had that whole moment where Missandei rattled off all her 18,000
Those are a lot
titles.
of titles.
Which, she's racked them up, and she thinks they're important. And then Davos, hype man that he is, said this is Jon, he's a king.
There was a lot of humor in this episode, I thought. Just dry sense of humor.
Right? Yeah,
I laughed more than I usually do, I think.
Yeah, I do too. Those guys, they like their jokes. It's never been an entirely super serious all the way through. That might crack me up. Did anybody else feel this way? I think this was just me. The Dothraki guy who took their weapons and made Kit Harington look as short as he is, was cracking me up for some reason.
When they had to give over
hand
their
over their
swords.
weapons.
Yeah.
He had some eyeliner. He looked really serious, and I just started to laugh.
I noticed that.
Just me.
I saw
now
that.
I'm putting it together. It's funny, but I didn't notice it in the moment.
My favorite part was when Sansa told Bran that she didn't know what she was talking about. That made me laugh.
Oh.
She goes, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, let's talk about that. Well, let's go to Winterfell for a second, because that was a little later in the episode. Interesting stuff happening there. Why was that funny to you, Kayla? Why was Sansa's confusion over Bran's?
He's just describing everything. He's like, well, I'm the three-eyed raven now. And she's like, I have no idea what that means. That's what she said. She was like, I have no idea what that means. Like, that's great, but it means nothing to me.
I mean, did you kind of agree with her? I kind of agreed with her.
Yes.
Like, I feel like there's a theme in this episode of like people trying to explain impossible things to other people. Like Jon is trying to say there are zombies coming, and like why would you believe that if you hadn't seen what he'd seen?
Right.
And how does Bran explain the fact that he's what is he? Like a dimension traveling tree wizard who can see everything at all times? Ask me this, Jon. Let's talk about Winterfell. How is Sansa managing things in Jon's absence? Doing a good job, bad job, okay job?
I'd say that she's doing a pretty good job. I mean, all things considered, she's never been. We've watched her grow into this role over the years, from this, kind of a stubborn little girl into this strong, still developing leader in the North. And so I think, she's got Littlefinger, piping in her ear still, but that's, that's to be expected. And I think I'm impressed with what she's doing so far. To me, it's how does she deal with the Littlefinger angle? That's always been the wild card to me, because he was chirping at her, this episode, everybody's your friend, everybody's your enemy, and it's like, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah, he gave that speech that was in the trailer.
In the trailer, yeah. What'd you make of that speech, Kayla? Frankly, I was confused.
The words of Sansa, I have no idea what you're talking about.
What am I supposed to do with that?
I think he's just trying to get in her head. Because he was basically saying it's all in your head. Like, you should always be at war with everybody all the time. Like, he's trying to kind of psych her out in some way,
That is the Littlefinger way, though. Everybody's your friend, and everybody's your enemy. They're your friend while you need them, and then as soon as they don't help you anymore, he'll arrange for you to have your head cut off, or, arrange for any kind of the things that he's already had happen on the show. So I think that's just the way that he thinks. That was kind of like looking in the mind of a madman.
Right.
Which is,
a madman.
Perfect. Sociopath.
Sociopath, a lot of those on the show. There was one comment we had on Katie Mountford, who writes our Unsullied recaps, said that speech, the whole fight every battle everywhere in your head all the time, was related to Bran, because he literally does see everything everywhere all the time. So it was a weird. Yeah, I liked that. It was. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but it does kind of link up. About Bran, so he returned to Winterfell, Kayla. They reunited. Sansa and Bran. It was a kind of a touching hug moment.
I loved that part.
That was nice. Was it spoiled at all? Because Bran seems kind of a little more removed and robotic now.
He's more of like prophet-esque. I feel like kind of like up on this pedestal. We can't be on the same wavelength because I can see everything that's going on that you can't, kind of thing. So it wasn't as much of a brother-sister relationship. It was more like a Sansa talking to her leader or something, it wasn't. Yeah,
I mean, it was
definitely a different dynamic.
Which is upsetting, because you want to see them get back together and the Starks reunite and triumph and all that. But I mean, I think part of the reach of the show is that you can't really go home again, That they all change so much. And I wonder what'll happen if Arya gets back. I think she's in the preview a little bit. How about the moment where Bran kind of talks, maybe not very tactfully, about Sansa's experiences on her wedding night with Ramsay? Does that convince? It's not funny, Josh. Serious stuff.
That was a moment where I was like, oh boy, this is like what you're saying. Bran is never going to go home. It's just different. He's having this conversation with Sansa, and then it's about, to me, I'm looking at Bran and Sansa, the time that they've spent apart. So I mean, to us,
it's been since season 1, right?
I mean, this has been a very long time since they've seen each other.
Yeah, season 1, because she went south to King's Landing and he stayed and then eventually left. But
so the reunion to me wasn't lost in my heart, I guess you could say, but I didn't really feel it as much as maybe they wanted it to, just because it's been so long since they've seen each other and they've changed so much. Sansa and Bran specifically are completely different, to the point where he can just like bluntly have these conversations, and it's like, oh, easy there, Bran.
Right? Yeah, it was different, but you grow up, you get different. Some people grow up and they get other jobs.
Literally
seen some stuff.
Some stuff, a lot of stuff. So that's Sansa doing her thing in the North. See, if you have any comments, by the way, feel free to leave them in the chat. We're monitoring it. And Kenny says that he felt more emotion with John and Sansa when they reunited with Bran and Sansa. And
I would agree.
I actually agree
I
with
felt
that.
the same way, yeah.
I mean, because I don't know, either of them are a robot yet. Like they both were involved in it. Although I mean, Bran's a tree wizard. John died and got brought back. They've all been through stuff. You're right. Okay, how about go on to we check in with the Greyjoys briefly-ish in this episode. We got a quick shot of Theon getting pulled out of the water by, I think, like a ship that escaped that battle. And he's denying that he bailed on Yara. Kayla, what does he do with all this shame?
That's a great question. He's literally like freezing, dying on the deck of a boat.
Yes, and they were just stepping
His
around
lips are
him.
blue. They just leave him there for dead.
The Ironborn are just jerks all over the place.
Well, because the guy was like, "Where's your sister?" He's like, "Oh, I couldn't save her." And he's like, "Did you try?" And he's like, "You wouldn't be here if you tried."
Right.
So that was kind of like they know that he
So they know.
was a coward and didn't try to save her. That's a great question. Well, we see in the preview that he washes up to shore at some point on the boat.
So he'll, I mean, on a shore, we're not sure
On
where.
a shore, right. But yeah, the guy is just, I don't know where he goes from here.
Me neither. It's in a difficult. God, I don't think anyone's taken much of beating this Theon over the course of this series. Well, Josh, because you weren't here last week, did you? What was your take on Theon's bailing? Because I think there's two perspectives people were taking. He was a coward, or that he had severe PTSD, which cut him a lot of slack.
I think there's a blending of the two, where something triggered that PTSD that he had from everything. Nobody's been beat up over the course of the show more than Theon, but also he's a little bit of a wimp. I mean, we've seen him be a coward at times, and I think this was that situation last week with Yara and whether or not he was going to save her. I think there was a triggering of the PTSD that was kind of helped by the fact that he was probably already going to bounce. He was out. He didn't want any part of that. But yeah, I don't know where he goes from here. He's a character where I thought we were about to get some redemption. He was coming back, and then all of a sudden he swings back into this. So.
I think in order to keep his character alive, that was the only option.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the other thing. It's like PTSD, cowardice, also survival. I mean, if he charged, what would have been the result? I mean, personally, I feel for him. I mean, I also thought that, he had that jump last week, and also this week Sansa had her reminded of her time with Ramsay. Like, Ramsay Bolton is kind of hanging over the both of them.
Right.
And still kicking, even after being fed to dogs. It's a shame.
Good old Ramsay. He's like a little Igor cloud hanging over everybody's happiness. Right. What happiness you can have in Game of Thrones. Ramsay.
But, so one way Theon could get redemption, might he rescue Yara, who's in a pickle right now?
That would be a good story.
That would be. I was trying to figure out how that would work without it being like forced, because that's kind of the way that I see it going. He has to do something to redeem himself. And I said this in the preview before the season. Theon's an expendable character in that he's going to maybe be in a position to do something heroic and sacrifice himself for the greater good of this half of the story. Maybe not necessarily the White Walker half, but it's something that's going to help move along the story. So maybe it's saving Yara, maybe it's something else, I don't know. Him jumping off that ship really threw me for a loop, because I don't know where he's going to go.
Gotcha.
I think he definitely has to have a hero moment. And in the preview, Daenerys said something about, like, I've lost all my allies, but he's one of the ones that is still kicking. So.
Right, but I mean, all the ships I'm not sure what he doesn't really command many men anymore.
Right.
But I mean, I kind of disagree with you that he's more expendable than some of them, but we've followed his story for a long time. He's like one of the ones who are invested in. Maybe not on the level of Jon or Daenerys, but pretty big.
Yeah.
So I imagine we haven't got quite to the end of him yet. But Yara, he could rescue Yara. She's in a bind. What'd you make of the scene where Euron marched her and the Sand Snakes through the streets of the city?
We kind of figured it was going to be coming from the preview from last week.
Oh yeah.
But that's, it's a total Euron move. The dude's a psycho.
He's crazy.
I was surprised that was tame to me for what I was expecting from Euron, just dragging him through the streets, which was brutal to begin with. So
we already had the naked shame walk through the streets. I guess. I flash back to that. I was thinking, like, at least not that bad.
You can only play that card so many times. But
Were they throwing flower petals at him? Like, it could have been a lot worse.
I thought it was like lettuce.
Oh, still. I'd rather have that thrown at me than something else.
I prefer nothing be thrown at me. I prefer not being led through the streets on a rope.
I don't want to be in a leash led through the streets. That's unpleasant.
But yeah, I'm interested in seeing where he goes from here as far as, I don't know, can Cersei contain him? Or is he going to be a wild card that just, he flies off the handle? He seems like an uncontrollable element here that Cersei might be in over her head with if he gets to the point where he realizes, hey, I kind of, I think I can do this better than you. I'm a crazy guy. Yeah. I'm going to, Mad King.
Yeah, that's my question. So he came back wanting to marry Cersei because that was his goal. This is a guy who murdered his brother, who kind of, he didn't steal an election. They voted him fair and square. Murders folk, is not a nice man. And Cersei kind of strings him along a little bit and says, oh, we'll marry, get what your heart desires when the war is over. Good move, bad move on Cersei's part, Kayla.
Yet to be determined?
It's
I don't know.
If you were Cersei,
I don't know. I think they could both easily turn on each other. I think they could both work together. I don't know what happens here. And when he was taunting Jaime about hooking up with Cersei, that was weird. Yeah. So I don't know what the dynamic's going to be between him and Jaime, him and Cersei, how all three of them are going to kind of work together in this.
Me neither. I didn't really expect it to happen, but yeah, there's definitely a Jaime Euron jealousy going on. But at least this week, Jaime came out on top. Cersei's heart-wise, how we feel about that, I don't know. Well, let's start though with the scene that preceded that, with Cersei down in the dungeon with Ilaria and Tien Sand. Good lord, just kind of being her Cersei self.
This was an intense scene.
That was brutal, yeah.
The actors in this, I thought, were amazing.
They did a very good job. Yeah.
You could see the vein popping out of her forehead. She had those eyes, tears running down her face. That was really intense.
Yeah. And Dira Varm was her name. She's very good. And I thought that Hedy too, Lena Headey did a great job of going through all the emotions. She was kind of the playful, vicious Cersei. She got genuinely heartbroken and angry about her kid dying. She went through a lot.
Yeah.
And then she got her revenge by kissing Tien Sand like Ilaria kissed Marcella. And then I think the idea is she's going to leave Ilaria in the cell, force feed her so she can spend the rest of her life in the room as
she watches her daughter rots. Yeah.
Which is vintage Cersei.
Too much?
Yes.
But Cersei's always too much.
But yeah, I really wouldn't put anything past her.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. On the scale of crazy, this fits right in with where Cersei is. So this is the Cersei style revenge to me.
It really was. Gina says, I thought Cersei was a monster, but I understand.
She's going to make them pay for the death of her only daughter.
Her only daughter. It is a horrible loss to go through. I was disturbed when Cersei says, I don't sleep, I just think about ways to kill people various ways. That's not a healthy hobby. Something else you do with your time.
Can't you knit or something?
Dangerous.
Yes. It's she likes drinking, she likes thinking of ways to kill people, and she likes killing people. Hooking up with her brother. She needs to play solitaire or something, or play cards.
Solitaire, Sudoku.
Something. But in the way the creepiest part about the whole scene was afterward, she goes straight to Jaime and gets that twin loving.
It's nothing like killing a sand snake daughter to turn you on and make you want to have sex with your brother.
She has so many problems, Cersei. So messed up in the head.
But I have a theory here about the whole Cersei Jaime thing, which is when she comes back into the room, it's right after she did the whole poison kissing thing. So does she still have some poison on her
lips? That's what I thought for a second. I thought she was going to try to kill Jaime.
We had a question about that from Show Snob.
I was like, wait, did she get all off? But then they woke up together the next day and I was like, okay, I guess so.
But Qyburn did say that it could take, you're not sure when it kicks in.
Yeah.
A trace amount.
So that's what I was wondering. It's did she accidentally? That would be the tragic, poetic end to this whole thing. She finally is at a place of happiness, I guess, where Cersei's happiness can be. And then
she kills her lover.
Yeah, and then she kills Jaime on accident, and then that's kind of the way everything starts falling off. I theorize that maybe that's when Jaime turns on her. He's in this moment, which I've been predicting since last season, that he's going to have this crisis of conscience where he has to choose, is he going to go against Cersei? Is he going to choose sanity? And then this is when he figures out, oh man, I'm dying. And she's just done.
That would be a fun development.
Interesting theory, Josh. I like it.
I mean, just one little thing, last bit of this. I thought the creepiest moment, maybe the episode, maybe of the series, was the morning after the sex, and Jaime is looking at her like he just married his prom date, and it was just like he had love in his eyes for Cersei Lannister, and it was just, it made me uncomfortable for him, for her, for America. Just
America.
It's bad.
You made a good point. Like, are they getting too confident and too comfortable in this when they're opening the door to people working and like
walking the red
openly
teeth.
showing them that they're hooking up? Yeah.
Jamie was kind of against that. He's like, you know, you've got to be careful about this. And she's like, I don't care. And then literally the help comes to the door, which you said she's dressed just like Cersei.
she had the same pixie haircut and then the same like neckline that she has on her.
So she's
Is her hair ever going to grow out?
I guess not. I mean, I figure she's keeping it short on purpose now.
Oh,
she looks more like
I'm just
Joffrey
curious.
now, if you notice,
Ooh, creepy.
with
Ew.
the short hair, right?
She's like this perfect Bond villain now, where she's got everybody dressing like her. But the help comes to the door, and Jamie's like, "We got to be careful about this. You know, they can't let them know we're banging again." And then she's just like, "Change the bed sheets." It's like,
Yeah.
all right.
Holding nothing
so she's
back.
just throwing it out there, which again I think maybe plays in this theory that I have, where this could be the beginning of the downfall for Cersei, where she's just so vintage, full of herself. The hubris is so there. Like we saw it in the scene when she was, you know, with the kiss of death scene. That was like she's dancing into the end zone the whole time. So I think this might be the beginning of the end for her.
I agree with you. Just, I mean, right now she's riding pretty high, actually. Like I think a lot
So
of fans,
it's like you said, it's waiting for something else to happen
Yeah.
where she's just going to
right, plummet
lose it.
or lose or just
kill everybody.
She seems like dancing on the edge of death all the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think a lot of fans assumed that Daenerys would kind of roll over Cersei, and it's not really happening. I mean, they beat up Yara and Theon. Euron did that, and this week they lured the Unsullied into a trap, and then they killed Olenna at the very end. But I'll talk about that for the very end. But the point is, Cersei is actually doing pretty well, better than people thought. But I agree with you. I think they're setting her up for a fall down the line.
Pride before the fall.
Because there's just no way she doesn't fall. Another point about that, but I totally forget it. So let's move on. Do you have any further thoughts on the state of Cersei Lannister, Kayla?
No, I just wish she'd stop hooking up with her brother.
Don't we all? That's the cause that can unite the country. It can unite the world. Please, Cersei, stop hooking up with
I mean, again,
Jaime.
Cersei said, like, I'm queen. I can do what I want now. Whatever.
I am curious how Euron's going to play into all this.
Me too.
Down the road.
I mean, again, they're being open about it. So if Euron hears about it, he might get jealous, or if I'm not sure he really actually wants her, or just.
Yeah, does he have like the reason to be jealous? Can he play the role of the jealous lover when he's not really even a lover to begin with? He's just like a placeholder.
And he's
Yeah.
like, they're like engaged to be engaged, you guys.
It's weird. Maybe Euron's like the type of guy that would be into that too. That's your series finale.
I mean, I just think he wants the power, so he can probably kill her and take the throne for himself. He seems like that kind of dude.
No.
I can
But
see him
he's
killing
losing right
Jaime.
now. I mean, the other option is with Euron, just he's not getting what he wants, so he just bails on it and does his own thing, which would be bad for her too.
Oh yeah.
But we'll see how that shakes down soon enough. All right, how about we checked in with Sam Tarly down in Old Town over here. He cured Jorah. Jorah. Josh, my question to you is, which is great, was that too easy? Did that kind of, I mean, we spent like 2 seasons with Jorah with this horrible disease, and now Sam, the amazing maester in training, the first-year med student, comes in and just chops all his disease off, and now he's more or less fine. What was the point of Jorah's odyssey with Westerosi cancer?
I don't know. 'Cause, yeah, I'm still struggling with Sam all of a sudden being like the Doogie Howser of Westeros. He's this medical genius. I thought actually that when that happened, I didn't think that Jorah was cured. I thought maybe he just delayed the process a little bit.
Sure.
And then you find out that he's cured. I'm like, whoa, Sam knows his stuff. But yeah, Jorah's journey, I don't know what to think of it, because I really did think it was going to end with this, he's got the grayscale and all of a sudden he's going to have this kind of sacrificial end to his story. Because like we saw him writing his letter. Remember the episode where we saw him again?
Saying
and they're
goodbye,
like,
yeah.
you've got a day left, and he's
Suicide
spending
note,
it writing
basically.
it. Yeah, he's writing
I
it
will always love you, Khaleesi.
Yeah, he's writing it to Khaleesi. So there's probably a play left in there, but yeah, this is a twist on to his end that I didn't. Really
Keeping
see
him
coming.
alive for what?
Exactly. What do you think? I mean, so he's obviously going back to Daenerys because, given the option, he will always go back to Daenerys. What future do you see for Jorah now, Kayla?
I don't know, but I'm glad he's still alive because he always seems to
he's
protect
still
her
alive,
and get her
too,
out of
yeah.
pickles. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays together.
And the last 3 times he's met her, she sent him away for one reason or another. Maybe the 4th time's the charm.
I'm not sick anymore. Let me stay.
Yeah, and she can finally stay by her side.
He keeps proving her wrong.
He keeps doing her wrong, and she gave him the will to go get cured in the first place. People online, by the way, are saying that Gina says Sam is boss, and that Christine, not too easy. Sam is emerging. He is kind of coming up in the world in a big way.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he found out about the dragon glass. He's the first person to successfully cure grayscale in a long time, apparently. Do you think the punishment / praise meted out to him by Archmaester Slughorn was appropriate, Josh?
I don't think so.
No?
I think there may have been like an element of jealousy there, where it's like,
really?
yeah, it's like here comes Sam, who's figuring out everything for some reason, and then you've got somebody who's been there for a while, who's like, oh yeah, the old traditional type of way, and I think it's like an old versus new clashing, and then Sam is this genius apparently, and
a prodigy.
Yeah, so naturally somebody who has been spending their whole life doing this stuff sees somebody come in and like, I can do this on the first try, he's going to be a little bit upset about that. So.
I think he's not having to deal with vomit or diarrhea anymore, so it's a win for Sam.
That was good. That was nice.
I'd rather deal with making copies than bodily fluids.
They broke the streak of so disgusting this week, which was nice. I was kind of.
I think it's a step up for Sam.
Also, you would talk about
small victories.
Talking about humor, like this show, which is known for brutal, gory punishments. And paperwork is the punishment here. So that now we know what the Game of Thrones showrunners think about paperwork. It's as bad as getting your eyes popped out by the mountain, apparently.
They're drawing an equivalency to that. At least he's still in school. He didn't get kicked out. And so we'll see where that goes from here. By the way, we got a comment from, it's going so quick, Justin Hastings, which I forgot to talk about. What was with the Red Priestess and the Varys conversation on the peak?
Oh, right.
It's good, yeah. So John and Davos and folk are coming up the staircase, and Melisandre is watching them from above. First of all, Kayla, why wasn't she there greeting them hand to hand?
She told Varys that the way that she ended her conversation with John, that she couldn't be there. Like, they couldn't know that she was there.
Which makes sense.
But she orchestrated it, but she just didn't want to be seen by them.
Because you remember, they parted on terrible, terrible, terrible terms.
He let her live if she would go south.
Which he did. I mean, I think she's abiding by the rules. Like, they both said, if you come to the north, we'll execute you. Like, we're not in the north. Like, if they can technically see me, that'd be fine. But she's keeping her distance for propriety.
It's like one of the first times I've been okay with her.
Oh, really? Why is that?
I don't know. She's just like, she's doing the right thing, but keeping her distance. She's not meddling too much.
She's not doing anything terribly creepy.
Not killing people.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think she's learned some lessons over the past few years about the extent of her power. Maybe
she seemed genuinely upset when she was telling him. She's like, I did something bad. I forgot how she worded it, but she was kind of open with him about it.
Terrible thing. Yeah, she did seem contrite, which is a nice new leaf for her. She made some interesting comments towards the end, especially where Varys, who by the way, should stop insulting Red Priestesses.
Yeah.
Because this happened last year too. When he confronted the Red Priestess in Marine, and then she told him a creepy story about the time he was mutilated genitally, and he was creeped out. This time, he says to Melisandre, if you leave for Essos, which is over here, you should stay there, because I can't guarantee your safety here. Which to me read what I got from that was Daenerys will be in power soon, I'll be near her, and I'll use my influence to make sure you creepy Red Priest types don't get a foothold here. And she came back with saying, I have to return because I have to die in this strange country just like you. What do you make of that?
That was some interesting barbing going back and forth there. I don't know, I'm coming around to Melisandre a little bit. Like you said, she's, seems like she's doing the right thing. She's been changed by the horrible things that she's done. Also, almost being murdered helps change somebody's mind to do the good thing. I don't feel bad for Varys though. If there's somebody who I wouldn't mind dying in a strange country with other creatures, it's Varys. He always seems to be. He's not Littlefinger-esque, but he does kind of play it to where he's in a position where thinks he's in no danger. He's kind of always looking out for himself, and I think maybe Melisandre sees through that. And we could see we could see maybe a little bit of a back and forth again between these two, where it's an underrated feud going on that could end hand in hand in death. But
what was your take on that? Her saying that they'll both die there.
I think it's delightfully ambiguous because I mean it could be a literal prophecy because she gets those. I mean, she looks into the fire and she sees things, but I mean she's been wrong before. Like Stannis Baratheon's just wrong all over. That whole thing was wrong. She was wrong about it. Or I also like the idea that maybe he knows that she gets prophecies and she's just like, this guy's annoying me. I'll just say something creepy to creep him out. And leave.
Yeah, I did like that. It was a nice threat towards Varys. So,
I mean, it's interesting that you don't like Varys very much because he's gaining some traction in the fan community because they like how he stood up to Dany last week. I thought that was a pretty good scene, and he's kind of fronted more in a way now than he has been in a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what they're going to do with him exactly. I think he's like the good Littlefinger. Like Littlefinger is the one who's manipulative and behind the scenes, but he kind of has evil ends. I feel like Varys has better intentions, but we'll see where they go. How about you, Kayla? What's your take on Varys? Yay or nay?
I'm okay with him for right now, until he does something crazy. But yeah, I don't have a problem with him. I don't think he's done anything too drastic yet.
No, I don't think so either. I think he's generally set on the right side of the line. But
I agree with the Littlefinger thing, though. They both kind of like always kind of meddle and
they've always been kind of paralleled to each other.
Insert themselves in every situation. Yeah.
Like Varys isn't a terrible dude, but I just can't fully trust somebody who seems to always be ahead of the game because they're ahead of the game for a reason. And if knowledge is power. So if Varys has a ton of power, I don't know necessarily if that's the best thing in the world.
Christine does not agree with you about Varys, just to let you know, Josh. Christine Alsop.
Sorry, Christine.
Keep the comments coming, everybody. Loving them. Okay, and Bonnie Troy says that the difference with Varys is he's been the underdog before. Although, to be fair, so is Littlefinger. I mean, he grew up, not a peasant, but a lesser lord. He got beat up when he tried to win Catelyn's hand. So they've both been stomped by life a little bit, and now they're both working out their issues as power brokers. Okay, final sequence of the evening was a big thing involving the Unsullied invasion of Casterly Rock, which, this is so far away, which is here-ish.
You need like one of those old history teacher things.
I want a pointer.
Old military map pointer.
Yeah, like a big long one. So Daenerys wants to go ride her dragons, find Euron's fleet, and burn it. And they talk her out of that. Is that a good idea on her part, Kayla? Should she go and try that?
No. I don't think she should go anywhere by herself. I mean, even though she has her dragons, I think that's who they need. So she shouldn't go somewhere by herself and let whatever happen to her. Like, I think it's just too risky. So I think they were right in shooting down that idea.
Shooting down literally the arrow. And that was their point. So you're on that. Josh, you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. It felt to me like it was an aggressive overcorrection to where she's upset, she just got beat in what was, the first battle against Cersei. It wasn't a direct battle, but it was, the pieces are on the board.
Battle, yeah.
Yeah, so naturally she was upset and she wanted to go hard back at Cersei. And thankfully she now has a nice counsel to be like, settle down, we're going to get through this. Don't, play it all at once.
But do you wonder if she might cast that aside? Because now, right after that, she suffered another loss. So the Unsullied invade Casterly Rock. Tyrion has this plan where they'll sneak through his secret sex tunnel that he made back when he was running the sewers of the place. Going from the inside, let him in.
I thought the whole sequence was cool how they did it with his narration.
The narration, yeah.
They haven't... they'd never done something like that before. Usually Game of Thrones is very straightforward. This was like a Guy Ritchie, Martin Scorsese, like a heist, like here's how it's going to go, and then you actually see it happen, which is rare. What's that?
Italian Job,
exactly. Which is fine for me
Ocean's 11.
I mean, Josh, just I think that kind of thing can get annoying, but it's never done it before, so I was fine with it here.
Yeah, it's an old trope, but when you use it right, and like you said, you haven't seen it before, it was an interesting way to go about something, because they could have done it the way that we've seen them do it, which is, here is the battle without any context, and it's just, a bunch of noise and sound effects, whereas this felt a little bit more poetic in its flow. And I don't know, it kind of got me back into the whole Dany might be in this thing. Of course, it doesn't end up well, but it's like, it gave it the illusion that this is a structured plan. We know what's going to go on. And at the same time, you can have really, really smart people in charge of things, and it can still not go right for you. So I think that kind of really hammered that home to me. Hearing Tyrion narrate this genius plan, essentially, and then it doesn't go well.
Yeah,
you're
I like that.
Oh, wow, this is, this might be bad news here.
It doesn't go well because Jaime had evacuated the place basically, or left just a few skeleton crew in charge of it before, because he knew it wasn't that valuable a place anyway. And then they got in there, Euron torched their ship, so now they're basically trapped there and didn't really gain anything from it, which is rough. And by the way, really quick, Rodrigo Arango asks, he wondered why Tyrion wanted to capture Casterly Rock. Didn't he know the mines were dry? I would say I don't think he did, because when Tywin told Cersei that info, he was in jail. So I don't think Tyrion has that information. I think that's a pretty closely held secret. So, and then he ended up paying for that like information. Would he had a network of spies or something? So yeah, the Elensalator are trapped there, and Jaime takes his army down to, oh Lord, Highgarden is over here in the Reach. We saw Randall Tarly and Dickon Tarly joining up, so they made their choice. They're going to side with the Lannisters. Bronn made a 3-second cameo, riding behind Jaime.
Good old Bronn.
And they roll into Highgarden, where Olenna's at. They defeat it. We didn't see a big battle there. I don't think we need to. We don't need every battle. And then we had a sit-down with Jaime and Olenna, where I think Olenna kind of knew she was going to die, but they kind of had a reasonably civilized talk anyway. Kayla, what'd you make of this kind of the final scene of the episode?
Well, first of all, I thought they were both going to die. I thought she had poisoned
Really?
the wine, like she likes to do.
Clever.
And he poured the drinks, and I thought they were both going to sit down and die together.
Interesting.
That would be cool.
Think
of that.
That's what I thought was going to happen. But no, I thought they had a great talk. She's one of my favorite characters, so I'm sad to see her go.
I was sad too.
I thought the way she went was good. She wasn't
it's pretty
tortured.
lost.
She wasn't beheaded. She wasn't,
She went on-
humiliated.
She went on her own terms too. I mean, within an element of
chugged
degree,
that.
but
She did.
She definitely.
No holding back.
It was great.
The
'cause
woman's fearless.
She chugs it, and then she just puts both middle fingers up, and she's like, "See you later, dude." Like, make sure Cersei knows that it was me.
Yeah.
And that was like, I loved that.
And it was great. And his face fell.
Because there's nothing you can do at that point. So she
Yeah, like
she
he was
basically
starting to
won in
die.
her own death.
Like, what are you gonna do? Yeah, it's like there was a thing at the end of it, the little behind the scenes feature where I think the producer said like she beat him in her own death scene. She kind of like he was victorious, but then she kind of snatched the pleasure away by saying, I killed your son, and also Cersei is awful, and she's awful, and she's gonna be the death of you, which I think probably rings true in the back of his head. So I did like that she flipped it in her final moments.
I did feel a little bad for Jaime, just because he did seem genuine in not wanting her to suffer and not wanting her to have this terrible death.
And she's like, I killed your son. Peace.
Yeah, and then she flips the same, which in a way almost made it even better, because when you think about it, Jaime's not this saint. He's coming around to this character that we're kind of feeling for more than we have before. Polar opposite where he was in the first couple of seasons of the show. And this was kind of like a return to that, a reminder that Jaime isn't this perfect character. He's not this sad, pathetic character that's being held back by Cersei. He's, he knows what's going on. He was very, he's in this. So
He's
and
in it.
that was a nice reminder too. And also that was like probably the best death I've ever seen. Because she got,
That's a good death scene.
That was.
nobody ever gets a death scene in Game of Thrones. They just die. And this was
Right.
kind of like really punctuated to me. I liked it.
I also like too just what you said about him being more sympathetic. I mean, he wanted her to not suffer. He had to talk Cersei out of making her suffer, though.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think goes again to the fact that I'm not sure that relationship is sustainable. Which goes to your theory that eventually he'll flip or decide he's had enough and just leave her. Is that what you want, Kayla?
Yes.
Or do you have hope for these two?
I side with him a lot more now than I used to. Like, he's definitely grown on me. I hated him in the first couple of seasons,
sure.
but now I almost root for him in a way to get out and to find a better life. I don't know.
I mean, he has Brienne waiting for
I
him
know.
up
I want
there
them
in the
to
north.
join forces again.
Exactly.
Poor Tormund. There's your love triangle.
Which, by the way, we haven't seen Tormund in a couple of weeks.
No.
Or the Hound and their crew. They're going to Eastwatch by the sea up there at the Wall. And hopefully we'll catch up with them pretty quick. Mm-hmm. My last question in terms of the actual episode is, okay, so I think Daenerys wanted to get in her dragons to go torch Euron ships, but they held her back.
Yeah.
She suffered another 2 losses, really, because her Unsullied are now useless, and she lost the Tyrells. I get the idea that she's going to, that they're not going to be able to hold her back. I think she's going to get angry. I think she's going to go do something herself, because she's like, your plans aren't working, dude. Like, all your things is not happening. I'm losing, is my guess. Do you see her acting out in that way?
Or is this building it up to where she has to join forces with Jon? They have to work together.
That's another good point.
Because they have nothing left.
Right.
That's my theory too. This could be building to, that's what brings them together, where Jon is the one that brings her down to like to thinking that she's doing the right thing. Because she's going to go off, her head's going to get big about this, she's going to want to go and make more aggressive counter moves to all these losses that she's been taking. And then there's going to be Jon to balance that all out and be like, look, this is what it is. Remember what I told you about these White Walkers? This is the big game that we're playing. Don't get too involved in these little losses here, because in the grand scheme of things, they are little losses. In her world, they're huge. But with the White Walkers coming, like Jon keeps saying, you can lose these, but it's very, existential when you think about it.
No, I get what you're saying. All right, finally, guys, leave any questions you have in the comments. Last question for you guys. What are you looking forward to next week?
I want to see what Arya's up to. We didn't see her at all this week. I want her to meet up with her family in the north. I hope there's a reunion there.
I'm looking forward to that, too.
Yeah, and seeing what happens between Jon and Dany at this point.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That crazy pair. How about you, Josh?
I'm interested in Arya, too. I'm also holding out for more Brienne and Tormund. That's what I'm looking forward to. I love that every time now, they're just fully embracing the comedy of that. Because every time I've seen Tormund this season, he's just making eyes at Brienne. I love it.
It's just the once, but it's enough,
Oh, I mean, I've watched it a million times, so it's more than once to me. I've got it on a loop in my head, so.
Dan, what are you looking forward to?
Mostly Arya. I gotta say, I think she's been killing it this year. I think there's
literally.
I think that she's back in Westeros. There's like a new vitality to her scenes that wasn't there when she was over in Braavos somehow. And I'm just glad to have her back among her people, and I think it's adding a new layers to her scene. So I want more of it.
I want to see a reunion with her and the Hound too.
That would be also fun.
That would be good.
I want to see the Hound too.
Yes.
We haven't seen him for a couple episodes. I'm not pointing again, but again, he's heading up to Eastwatch by the sea.
Where is he going, Dan? No, I'm just kidding.
Eastwatch by the sea, kind of in the upper right-hand corner-ish area of the map.
Noted.
And we'll see what happens next week. Thank you guys for joining. Julie said she's going back to sleep. Get some rest, Julie. See you next week. And Kenny's looking forward to Dany burning people with her dragon, which is a distinct possibility. Corinne says, don't torture Yara in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that too, but it's entirely possible.
You know that Cersei's going to want to do something horrible.
I mean, I think she's Euron's prisoner.
Well, I mean, Cersei's going to be behind that too. I mean, she's pulling the strings.
Yeah, I mean, well, really quick. I'm guessing that the Sand Snakes are hers. I think Euron is keeping.
Because she has
Yara. She has no personal
with,
beef
right.
with Yara.
I'm just going
Sansa
off.
likes to torture folk because she hates them personally.
I'm just going off on Cersei's just going to lose it. She's going to be like, look, they're prisoners. They're against us. I'm taking that.
Let me at them.
I'm taking that hardline stance.
I want my fun time with them.
I'm still counting on Theon to rescue her.
I think you'll at least try, but we'll see. We're back next week, guys. Same time, Monday, 10 a.m. Central Time. Congratulations to whoever wins this. Really quick, the question again, in case you want to see it, is want to win a copy. What are the words of House Tarly? If you want to leave a last-minute comment. And we'll see you next week for the Spoils of War. Thanks for watching.
Can't wait.